Video game journalism is in a state of disaster. All of the major outlets are going through layoffs, and of course, they are at an all time low in terms of consumer confidence. And now we have Jason Schrier, of course, claiming that the Sweet Baby Inc. boycott that crushed the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League sales is angry hallucinations created by grifters. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of days, there have been a few reports that have released regarding Rocksteady and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I actually had released a pretty long tweet/post. It will be linked down below, as will my initial video, but I said, while I do not usually speak on insider information I receive, I think this is one we have all pieced together ourselves. Warner Brothers is internally talking about closing Rocksteady or having their 250 employees after the Kill the Justice League bomb. We know David Zaslav last month had announced it lost them over $200 million year over year. It is a massive financial failure. And then people were pointing out Jason Schrier actually put up an article of his own on Rocksteady only 12 hours after I made this post. Some people think that it's some big damage control for Rocksteady. It is very suspiciously timed though, but basically he is claiming that Rocksteady is being considered to help work with Avalanche on a Hogwarts Legacy like director's cut, game of the year edition type of thing, and that they are actually going to be pitching a brand new game to Warner Brothers. Rocksteady has plans past Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which we know they are going to be abandoning at the 1-year anniversary mark. All the DLC will be out at that point, and they're not going to be working on the game anymore, which is definitely not something that has sat well with the people who bought this game at full price. But he's now claiming that the Sweet Baby Inc. boycott did not affect the sales at all whatsoever, and that this whole boycott is completely made up and it's all angry hallucinations created by grifters. He doesn't mention in his report Sweet Baby Inc. at all whatsoever. No Sweet Baby Inc. detected, which almost 400,000 people follow over on Steam, because he's very clearly leaving out certain information. Of course, there are people who follow Bloomberg and these journos who don't really look at social media, and they are not being given all of the information at hand. This is why you cannot trust journalists, because they are willing to withhold information if it does not, fit their narrative. It says Bloomberg reporter Jason Schrier, who previously worked at Kotaku, of course, absolute trash heap, claims that Sweet Baby Inc. boycott that helped crush the sales of KTJL is angry hallucinations created by grifters. He recently published an article for Bloomberg claiming to reveal inside details about the failure. In his article, he claims that the game's $200 million failure is due to a constantly shifting vision, a culture of rigid perfectionism, and a genre pivot that was ill-suited for the studio. And yes, when they greenlit this game, we were at the height of studios greenlighting live service games, and companies still do think that live service is the future, and there are some live service games that are extremely successful, like Helldivers 2, so that's not a good excuse. He then says a culture of rigid perfectionism. If games were $20 or $30 each, people would always be happy no matter what the product was. But when you are talking about $70 for a standard edition, $100 for a deluxe edition, $130 for an ultimate edition, yes, people are going to want perfection, and we should deserve perfection. We are talking about video games, and we are talking about a lot of video games that release every month and every quarter, every year. And when you want people to swipe their credit cards, you should be giving us decent content. And with something like KTJL, it was bottom of the barrel. The gameplay was mediocre, it visually was a nightmare, the writing was god awful, and of course, a lot of that has to do with a company like Sweet Baby Inc. While yes, Sweet Baby Inc. did not ruin this game in totality, and clearly the developers had a vision that Sweet Baby Inc. helped continue to ruin, it's not like Rocksteady was blameless in this situation. He's, however, though, made no mention of Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, created by, of course, Cabrutus, that has nearly 400,000 followers. Kill the Justice League was the game that really put Sweet Baby Inc. on the radar. Yes, years ago we talked about God of War Ragnarok. Yes, we talked about games like Alan Wake 2 at the end of last year. But KTJL was really what kind of kick-started this movement against narrative consultation companies, and KTJL is the game that started Gamergate 2. And of course, Gamergate 2 is primarily surrounding ethics in journalism, which is what Gamergate 1 was about, but also narrative consultation companies and the unfortunate, situation with writing in the video game industry and the very low quality content that we are receiving at this point, and to leave out even a single mention of Sweet Baby Inc. just proves he never wanted to represent both sides of the story and all of the facts. And then he went on a Twitter rant. Despite this, Schrier declared that Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement with the game had nothing to do with its disastrous sales. Somebody said not one mention of the woke tone turning off fans or SBI influence. Really, Jason? This article is about what actually happened, he said. Right, someone responded. So it didn't have any effect on development behind the scenes, hiring practices, or turning off millions of fans. Do you not remember this game is what kicked off the SBI drama to begin with? To not even mention it is negligent absence journalism, dishonestly so. I totally and completely agree. And Jason said, I asked 24 people who worked on the game what went wrong, and not a single one mentioned the word Sweet Baby. Of course they didn't, because they are activists just like the people at Sweet Baby Inc. Sweet Baby was hired by activists to work with activists on an activism-filled game. I mean, what else can we say about Sweet Baby and Kill the Justice League? Jason does not care. And this is the problem with journalists. If they had even made a mention in this article, in the tweet thread, anywhere about Sweet Baby, that would have been better than nothing. But people like Jason just do not care, and this is why you cannot trust people like him. They don't care about the state of the industry. They are actively trying to tear it apart and make it into their vision. They want to form the industry in a way they think is progressive, they think is modern, they think is acceptable, when that's not how most gamers feel. Yes, there is a vocal minority online who think the industry needs to be sanitized and politically correct, but if we get to a point where that is happening, all games are going to be cookie cutter, boring, bland games that are just copies of each other, and that's not what people want. People want new, unique content, and we are getting to a point where there are developers who are afraid to create what they want because they are afraid of cancellation, of being shunned from the industry, and people like Jason Schrier are not helping that. So of course, instead of actually talking about the real reason Kill the Justice League failed, like the complete and utter disrespect for the previous Arkhamverse games, and of course the Justice League, like Captain Boomerang pissing on the Flash, the cringeworthy feminist tone that someone like Harley had, and just everything in between, again, all of the problems like the visuals, the gameplay, etc., he decided to ignore all of that and also ignore the fact that the Sweet Baby Inc. boycott did severely hurt the sales of this game. So, of course, I will be keeping my eye on this situation to see if Jason Schrier says anything else. I've been blocked by him for years at this point, so it's not very surprising he doesn't want to have like a genuine good faith conversation with someone he would just disagree with, because that's how these individuals act. But I will be keeping my eye on the situation to see if anything else new pops up. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.